got to go stronger in that one thing. That was the one thing a lot of complaints about. Look at Carrie. Carrie's winning with very little money. And if they say, how is your family? She says the election was rigged and stolen. You'll lose if you go soft. You're going to lose that base.
I'm not going soft.
I've never come in to do a rally where the person lost. Not once. I mean, it's been pretty amazing.
No, I'm just sure we're going to beat this guy.
So that was Blake Masters doing a bizarrely performative phone call with Donald Trump for a Tucker Carlson documentary where he calls up Trump and instantly Donald Trump begins castigating him over not being sufficiently supportive of the big lie. Blake Masters, a guy who on the debate stage, and that's the venue they're talking about, said that the entire 2020 election was rigged by big tech or something. Got the greeting from Donald Trump. You're going soft. You're not talking about the big lie. Carrie Lake, it's her whole personality now. Now look, Blake Masters did say that he hadn't seen any evidence that votes were actually switched, which is, and this is weird because we're talking about Blake Masters, the truth. There isn't any evidence of that, and so he's actually saying something that's connected to reality. Now, I'm not gonna give him a ton of credit because I think that were he to become a senator, he's going to do whatever he can in his power to advantage anti-democratic politicians like Donald Trump. But let's identify that at the very least, he's saying this because he thinks it will make it easier for him to win. He's a candidate who is trying to actually win. Donald Trump would love him to win, but Donald Trump is more focused on pushing the big lie as a concept to save his ego at this point. And Blake Masters has that bizarre smile on his face throughout that talk, which is partly, you can chalk it up to the fact that Blake Masters is a very, very weird person. But you know what he's thinking about Trump in that moment. That he's getting criticized over this, when I'm sure he thinks he did a good job in the debate, and he is trailing in the election, but what a weird thing for Trump to focus on when talking to this candidate.
All I heard was that this guy goes soft, and Mark Kelly's been to space. That's all I'm saying. One guy is an astronaut who has gone to space, and the other guy goes soft. Like that's the thing, is the idea that Donald Trump and the Republican Party and people like Blake Masters think that they're gonna be alpha dogs when they're running against someone who has been to space, who's a literal astronaut, who rides rockets that go thousands of miles an hour, crafts that go thousands of miles an hour. Like Blake Masters, he goes soft. I don't know what to do. It's a problem, and this is actually, in all seriousness, this is the way that they operate. They repeat the same insane message over and over and over and over and over again until you realize your only option is to refute it or completely change the conversation. And people try to change the conversation. There's a ton of people who are bad at politics who don't try to change the conversation. And then they always find themselves in the same conversation rebutting in nonsense. But you still have to tell people that the election, there's no evidence that the election was rigged. The election was not rigged. Any sane person will say that it was not rigged and that Trump lost because he is a loser.
Yes.
But Trump just makes you engage in this stupid conversation over and over again. And worse, as much as they say that like the left polices language, that's exactly what Trump's doing.
Yep.
He's policing Masters' language. He says you can't say anything other than exactly what I said, which was the election's rigged.
Yep.
And this same dynamic plays itself out over and over again with stuff that when they first say it, you're like, this is insane. What do you mean critical race theory? What do you mean they're going and mutilating genitals of children in the middle of their development? That's not happening, but they repeat it so much that their idiot moron friends who have absolute litmus tests for whether you can belong in their club will cudgel you if you don't say that absolutely insane stuff is true. And I don't know where we fall and what our obligation is other than to come up with something, and we have to base it in reality. I want to base it in reality, but they've got us off in crazy town. And once you're unmoored from reality, that is precisely when fascism becomes the reality.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, there's a reason Trump wants the only thing that makes you a Republican or not to be about whether you say that literally years ago he got robbed. Then it can be about anything. It has no tie to policy, nothing at all. It's all just about your view about a historic fact about the dear leader. Like if you don't believe that he's never bowled anything less than 300 back in the 80s, then you're not a good Republican. That's what they're setting up. Quick fact check though, because you brought up that he's a loser. He says at the end of that phone call, I've never done a rally for anyone who lost. I looked into it and you did do some rallies for yourself.